I'm joined now by Neena Dutta. She's an attorney at the Dutta Law Firm. She focuses on immigration and has represented pro bono clients in asylum, deportation, and special immigrant juvenile cases. The U.S. government, you just heard, introducing this new fast-track deportation process. How do you see this unfolding?
I think it's going to create even more chaos. I mean, for the last 2 years in the immigration world, we've been dealing with travel bans and changes unauthorized. It's Congress who should be leading the way on immigration. And, this is just descending into more and more chaos.
And the ACLU, one of the groups that plans to challenge this in court, how do you see that moving along? What's going to happen with that process?
I think we're going to see more and more groups suing the government. We've already seen a rise. So the two groups are the ACLU and the AIC, the American Immigration Council.
Tell me about your experience, because one of the claims is that there can be mistakes. Some U.S. citizens have been ordered out of the country as a result of this sort of thing. There are cases where people have been here for perhaps a decade, they're sent packing. What are you hearing in the specialized legal community that you're in as the Trump administration continues to ratchet up the pressure?
I think there's an immense wave of fear. People who previously had hope have been doing the right things. They've been checking in with ICE. They have been complying with their orders. They're now in a state of absolute panic and fear. Already today we've got people who have been stopped, who are U.S. citizens and have just been stopped in their tracks. And so we're recommending to everybody to carry their papers. I mean, that's kind of where we are. It's become like a carry your papers society.
And what about Trump's executive order? Roy talked about that, about the asylum process. What is that going to do? What wrinkle is that going to introduce?
An already backlogged, I don't think that, the point of this was to reduce the backlog. I don't believe it will do what was intended. The asylum courts, for too long, there needs to be a separate immigration court. It cannot continue this way. There are far too many people waiting. It's just ineffective at the moment.
And the Trump administration is set out to punish countries like Guatemala because of the caravans, cutting aid there. But in some ways, that's rather fueled some more people actually leaving those countries, in a sense, hasn't it?
Absolutely. It's created even more danger and a sense of panic. If you can imagine, the whole point of the cruel behavior that we've seen, separating children, putting people in detention centers, that was supposed to send a message to people to not come. What's happened as a result is even more people have more fear, and we've seen a bigger wave of people.
And Neena, you're in this field. What kind of recommendations would you give to the White House if you were to have a chance to kind of bend the president's ear on this?
He has to stop. We need a better system, and this is not the way to go about it. There needs to be actual reform. We need to build a better system. Nobody wants open borders. There's no one who's advocating for a open wave. It needs to be orderly, but we have to be safe for the people coming in. And immigration advocates are just as concerned about safety. We want people vetted as well, but this constant chaos and not knowing and putting people in danger and, quite frankly, putting children at risk is not the way to do it.
But Congress really isn't stepping up. You said Congress has a role here. What should they be doing?
They should be drafting bills to significantly change the existing system.
And why isn't that happening?
There's just this stalemate. Immigration has become this pawn in elections, and as you'll probably see in 2020, it's going to be an enormous issue where it really is something that needs to be resolved, but it doesn't affect the majority of the U.S. people the way it has been played out with politicians. So to answer your question, Congress really needs to act and hasn't, because everyone's so afraid to take bold action.
Well, I guess the problems will continue then as a result. Neena, thanks so much for joining us from New York. Appreciate it.
Thank you.